Black Canyon 2018 when it was you against Courtney Dauwalter for that golden ticket. When you were on the start line and you looked to your right or left or wherever she was, were you thinking, okay, she's going to be my
main competition,
competition today?
Well, funny you should say that, because in 2018 I was still very new to the sport, and I had no idea who Courtney Dauwalter was.
and she did not know who you were.
Summer's here officially.
Today. 30 degrees.
30 degrees.
Ouch.
Here we go. Talking about weather again.
No, forget weather.
Life goals.
Let's talk about GottaRunRacing.
GottaRunRacing. Well, I am very excited because the Monarch Butterfly medals and swag, which is secret, are en route.
Wow.
So we should be seeing those in about 10 days or so, and I will be showing them off on social because they are going to be fire.
So the Monarch Butterfly is flying over here.
She sure is.
Cool.
All right.
And we run the north.
We are in Ontario, Bruce Peninsula National Park, up in Tobermory.
Which you and I finally got to see last year.
Visiting our own province.
Yeah.
It was pretty spectacular.
Yeah. There's some things to see. A lot of things to see.
Yeah.
Cool.
And who's on the podcast today?
On the podcast today, we have Ailsa
Macdonald.
Wow. I first came across her when she won outright Sinister 7 2017. There was a buzz in the air in the ultra community saying, well, this woman won ultra outright 100-miler. First time running 100-mile. That's the first time I kind of knew her.
Well, no one knew who she was. She came out of nowhere.
Right, but that's what there was a buzz about. There's this woman.
Right.
But then further research, hey, she wins a couple of Ironmans. Now she's won a couple of 100-milers.
Yes.
Yeah, she's getting her name out there.
She sure is. She's heading to Western next year, so we'll get to see her.
And I just can't wait to hear what she has to say about all this success.
That's right.
Coming up.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Ailsa Macdonald.
How are you?
Thanks for having me.
What are you drinking today? Anything?
Not during the meeting, no.
I think I got straight vodka here. We came across your name because it was on the 2020 Western States that you were going to go to Western States in 2020. But before that, there was a buzz about you back in 2017 winning outright Sinister 7. And that's how we basically came across your name way back then. So I was wondering, you were into triathlons, but way before that, I was wondering if you could talk about that first triathlon, and then we'll move into ultras.
Sure, yeah. Kind of triathlon is where I started my athletic journey, I suppose. Right out of high school, started doing like Olympic distance tries. I moved from there to road running and got into the marathon and focused on that for many years. And then, I was still doing triathlon at the time and just kind of doing both triathlon and marathon. A friend convinced me to do an Ironman, so I got into the longer distance triathlons. And that's kind of where I discovered my talent for the endurance events. And after a few years of that, I decided I wanted to change it up a bit and thought I'd hit the trails and see if I could tackle these longer ultra marathons.
Curious, what was your first ultra before Sinister 7?
My very first ultra was in 2015. It was the Golden Ultra. So a little bit of a shorter course compared to what I'm doing now. I think it was a 3-day stage race. So it consisted of a vertical kilometer on day 1, 60K race on day 2, and then a half marathon on day 3 ultra.
And what about that appealed to you, coming out of doing 3 different disciplines to now just sticking with one and seeing how you can push yourself that way?
still actually, I like the cross training, and that's kind of what kept me engaged in triathlon. And I do still do a lot of cross training, lots of biking. Biking was probably my primary sport growing up. I just cycled everywhere. So I had a really good bike background. Was never good at swimming. That was always a struggle for me. But I did like to change up my training by throwing something challenging in there. So the swim was good for that. Yeah, I just like the variety in the training.
Once you hit the Ironman distance, was Kona always a goal of yours, or were you just in it to see how you would adapt to going the distance as opposed to the shorter Olympics?
I was just in it for the experience. I was in it for the finish, and I actually qualified for Kona on my first Ironman, and I wasn't going to take my spot, but it was a friend that convinced me that, you know, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. You should really take this opportunity. So I did. I took the spot, and it was exactly a year out from the day I qualified to the day I raced Kona. So it gave me another year. So I had lots of time to rest, recover, and then build up again. So the timing was really good.
And did Kona live up to its expectations, or had you even really built any in your mind?
100%. Yeah, it was more than I had expected, actually. It was an amazing atmosphere, and the days prior to the race, they have lots of events happening downtown at the race venue, and they tell all the athletes' stories, like some of the physically challenged athletes, what their struggles are, how they got to the start line, and they talk about the competition, and it's a really, really energetic atmosphere. And the course itself, yeah, it was super hard. And you have the heat and the humidity and that dreadful run on the Queen K Highway down to the Energy Lab. But yeah, it was so worth it to go.
And what was the swim like at Kona? If you're not a swimmer and having to start in such a, oh my gosh, the nerves. I can't imagine the nerves that would be happening if that's not one of your stronger disciplines.
I had done a lot of mass start swims. So I was okay with being around the crowds, and I just hang towards the back because I'm a weaker swimmer anyway. But I was more worried about the ocean swim and swimming with a wetsuit and the currents and stuff. So it is a hard swim. The first year I was there, I had a really good swim. We had calm waters. It's a beautiful swim too. Like the water is crystal clear, and you see all these tropical fish swimming below you. So it's really neat that way.
Yeah.
I went back to Kona in 2018, and the water was really choppy. Ooh. And it was so hard. Like I felt the swim back to shore just felt twice as long as going out. Like it just kept pulling you back out. So it can be a challenge for sure.
Right. And as biking being one of your stronger disciplines, do you enjoy passing people? Because presumably if the swim is not your strong, you're a little bit back of the pack in terms of where you're going to end up finishing. So do you like that feeling of catching people on the bike and passing all the time?
Oh, I love it.
Who wouldn't?
Well, I can tell you as someone who's being passed, it's horrible.
I think that's one of the reasons why I do so well in the triathlon, and especially the longer distances, because I'm so far back coming out of the swim, and I'm strong on the bike and strong on the run. So as soon as I get out of the water, it's like I'm constantly passing people, and that's a huge confidence boost for anyone, right? So
right.
It makes the rest of the race go really well for me, as opposed to the people who seem to fall apart on the run. Like it must be really difficult to lead the race and then start losing place when you hit the run.
Oh yeah, that would be morally defeating.
Demoralizing.
Yeah, it's a completely different race.
Translating that into a running race, would you prefer to always lead then, or is that cause a little bit more stress knowing that, you know, there's someone you don't know who's behind you, or how unless you're doing loops? How does that play into it?
Yeah, it is a bit harder because you do tend to get sucked into the faster crowd and maybe start off too quick. So it's a little bit harder because you have to hold back for those kind of distances. So, but at the same time, you're being pushed by all the really quick people around you. So it's an interesting game, and you have to be careful. But at the same time, you want to take that opportunity to be naturally pushed by your competition.
Right.
So that's a great segue into the Canadian ultra road race you did in Calgary, right? That was the 50K. You won the Canadian National.
Yeah.
How did that go? What was your strategy going into that? Because that's a road ultra.
Yeah. I was actually just using it as a training race leading up to Sinister 7. I thought, well, this would be a great way to kind of practice the long distance and running a little bit quicker. The fatigue build up in my legs. So for me, it was a training race. So going in it, I didn't have any great intentions. And then closer to race day, all my friends were talking like, okay, this is who your competition is. This is the girls that you have to watch out for and everything. I'm like, whoa, this is just a training race. I'm not going to worry too much about it. But I ended up kind of neck and neck with one other girl. And we were pretty close for probably the first 30K. And then she started to fall back a bit. And I was able to maintain a pretty strong pace and lead the race to the finish. So it was a surprising outcome. It wasn't what I expected, but it was good. I felt good the whole way, and I didn't focus too much on winning or the competition. It was more just stay relaxed and stay focused and calm. it worked out.
So let's talk about Sinister 7, because Sinister 7 was also a ultra national competition, right? It was a Canadian national 100-miler.
It was, yeah.
And that was going to be your goal race that year?
That was my A race for the year. It was my first attempt at 100-miler. So for me, it was just about the experience and making it to the finish line and seeing what this 100-mile deal was all about.
And so how did that go?
Better than expected. So my training leading up to it was really good. I was confident that I could finish the distance. I just wasn't sure how long it was going to take me. And I kind of looked at every segment of the race and broke it down as far as like how far and how much elevation gain each leg had. And I gave my husband a ballpark time, and I told him I would finish somewhere between 19 and 25 hours.
That's a big park, Ailsa. That's a really big park.
That sounds about right.
Well, there's so many variables in ultra running that you have no idea, right? So that day we ended up having a very unusual heat wave, and it hit 37 degrees on race day.
Wow.
I think it was the highest DNF rate ever for that race. I think there was 18% finishers.
Wow.
And I think that helped me because I do well in warmer conditions. And going into it, I knew, okay, it's going to be hot, so I'm going to have to really watch my pace and take in lots of fluids to make sure that I'm going to survive. So I went out slower than I had anticipated. And I found myself leading the race in very early on, like 2. And I didn't let it go to my head because I thought so much can happen. Like you're 20 miles into a 100-mile race. Way too early to be competitive. So I just kind of kept moving forward and I was able to just keep moving until I hit that finish line. And by the time I got to the finish line, I had gained a 90-minute lead on the next participant. So also a very unexpected outcome.
Winning outright. I can't imagine what that would be, but what about all the hype after that? The press, they got contacted. Everyone's wondering who you are. How did all that come out into play?
Yeah, well, it was really exciting at first because, lots of people contacted me, and Canadian Running Magazine did a big profile piece on me. I had lots of podcast interviews because I kind of came out of nowhere because nobody knew who I was at the start line, but by the time I hit the finish line, it's like everybody knew who I was, and it was exciting. So it was quite the career highlight that I was able to run on for a long time. it was a good feeling.
I can imagine. That's amazing. Congratulations. And again, being your first 100-miler, do you feel that you were adequately prepared, but did you go through all of the range of emotions and have any big, aha moments that, okay, I think this is where I want to continue with my endurance is focus it more in the ultra world, or were you sort of, unsure?
I feel like I flip-flop back and forth. I like to focus on the ultra trail running for a while, and then I'll kind of get not bored of it, but just want to switch things up and go back to like Ironman training. And for a while I was trying to do it all, and that was a little bit too much to do, like in a year to do 100-mile and an Ironman. So I just what I kind of started doing was picking an A race for the year. So whether that's an Ironman or an ultra, and then I would pick the opposite sport to play around in. So if I was focusing on an Ironman, I might sign up for like a couple of shorter trail races or ultras just to keep fit and engaged in that sport, but not overly competitive.
Right.
So I would kind of use those days as training days, more or less. And then the opposite would be true if I was doing like 100-miler. I would still participate in triathlon. I probably wouldn't do an Ironman, but I would do like a half Ironman, shorter.
Right.
When you were getting into the ultra scene, did you know about Western States? Did anybody put that in your ear, or hey, you should consider doing this race or try to get to there?
I knew about it. I had read about it. I used to really follow Ellie Greenwood. She was a bit of an idol of mine when I was younger, before I even got into ultra running. And she, of course, broke the record at Western States. So I knew it was a high-profile race. I didn't really have my heart set on it when I first got into ultra running because I had no idea what sport was going to take. So didn't know. I didn't expect to ever run it like this, or I didn't really look that far ahead.
Black Canyon 2018, when it was you against Courtney Dauwalter for that golden ticket. When you were on the start line and you looked to your right or left or wherever she was, were you thinking, okay, she's going to be my
main competition?
Competition today.
Well, funny you should say that, because in 2018, I was still very new to the sport, and I had no idea who Courtney Dauwalter was.
and she did not know who you were.
Probably not. Like, I wasn't really following the sport that closely. And actually, when I went into Black Canyon for the second time, the reason I went back to that race was because the first time I did it, the course got altered. So I never got to experience the full course, because I don't normally do the same race twice. But again, we happened to be in Phoenix, and I thought, I'd really love to do this course from start to finish, the actual course. So I signed up for it, and I said to my husband, I'm like, if I did get a golden ticket, I would like to go. That would be a pretty good opportunity. Again, a once in a lifetime experience, kind of like Kona. So I just looked at Ultra Sign Up the day before, and it tells you like, who's who's in the race and what their ranking is in the trail running world, kind of thing. And I did see Courtney Dauwalter's name there. And so that was the first time I had heard her name. And I looked at some of her times. I thought, oh, this girl's really quick. She actually was in the competition for the gold ticket, because she already had one going into that race. But we did run together for a while during the race, and shared a few miles together, and connected. It was really good, and we actually had a beer together at the end of the race.
So you get your golden ticket. Now you're going to Western States about 3-4 months later, right? You're going to go to Western States?
Yeah. And
now you're towing the line against Courtney again, and against Lucy Bartholomew, Casey, like they're all there. Now what's going through?
Yeah. Had you done any research into who your competition might be for that one?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that was a disadvantage, actually. So the line at Western States, of course, with some of the most elite runners in the world, and it was really intimidating, because I was getting all these messages from people through social media saying, "Oh, we think you're going to win," and you know, so there was a lot of pressure.
And this is your second 100 miler.
This is my second 100 miler.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
And I kind of let the pressure get to me. I shouldn't have, but I did, because I thought all these people are counting on me, and if I don't show them a good result, then I'll be a disappointment. So I let that take over and went out way too hard and blew up. So didn't exactly have the race that I wanted to have. Learned a lot of lessons though, and that's been valuable. But yeah, it was not the race that I wanted, that's for sure.
Well, you came right behind Casey Lichtai. Did you guys run together for a while as well?
I did see her along the course, yeah, but I didn't really speak to her much. I think she passed me pretty quickly, and then I never saw her again.
So now that you've seen the entire course, I'm sure you have a different strategy, a different game plan heading into the next one.
I'll definitely go out more conservatively. I'll focus, like, I'll have the same strategy that I had in previous 100 milers, like Sinister 7 and Tarawera, which also went really well. You know, where you start out super slow and you just carry on. And it definitely pays off at the end for those longer races.
Are you planning to go this year, Ailsa?
No, I pushed my ticket to next year because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to travel.
Right.
Well, we'll see you there.
So
awesome.
Norm, a little bit of Norm's history. He's been trying for 6 years to get into Western and 5 years to get into UTMB.
Yeah.
And however many years to get into Boston. And he got into all 3 last year.
Oh.
So
what unfortunate timing. Well, I hope you get to do them all.
Yeah, we're thinking UTMB in 2023.
Western States next year, then Boston whenever.
Boston whenever.
Back to Western States, it didn't go so well for you, but then you decided to take on the Canadian Ironman Championship 5 weeks later or something like that. Hey, why not, eh? Let's just get my bike out. And how did that go?
So 2018 was one of the years that I tried to do it all. But my A race that year was Ironman Canada, and I wanted a Kona qualifier. I wanted to go back to Kona. So I got into Ironman Canada. Same thing. We had record high temperatures. It was 47 degrees again. So I knew I had to pace myself. So of course, for me, that's no problem starting off slow because it starts with the swim. So I did my little doggy paddle, got out of the water, and I do get competitive on the bike. So I knew I had to like really dial back a bit because otherwise I would end up in the same situation. So every time I could see somebody ahead of me and get a little bit competitive, I reminded myself of how I did feel at Western States and going out too hard. So always was dialing, conscious of my effort. Got on the run, and that's when a lot of people started to fall apart because it was the hottest part of the day and it was really exposed run course. And I just kept a consistent pace. It wasn't a super fast marathon. It was in comparison to all the other times that day, but because of the heat, everybody was a lot slower. But I ended up catching the lead women and winning the race. So
incredible.
Got my Kona qualifier.
Have you ever been coached in either discipline?
I don't think so. From what you're saying, I don't think so.
Sounds good, yeah.
You can't dispute it. It works. It works. That's amazing. Well, you're obviously very in tune with your body, and you know it works for you. So that alone is half the battle, right?
That's great. In 2019, again, you win another Ironman. What was that? Louisville or not Louisville?
Santa Rosa.
Santa Rosa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did that go again? Just a regular day for you, or is this?
She ran herself. Power engineer, also a female power runner from St. Albert, Alberta, Canada. Please welcome number 68, Ailsa Macdonald, to the finish line.
Ailsa, congratulations. Even though you were fourth over the line, first age grouper to win Ironman Santa Rosa.
That's pretty awesome.
Where are you from, and tell me about your race day, from how to go from swim, bike to run.
I'm from St. Albert, Alberta, Canada. I had a great day out there today. This is actually the coolest Ironman I've ever done, temperature-wise. I've always been in like Ironman Whistler last year, 35 degrees, Kona, so it was so comfortable, and I was just able to really push the pace today. I had a great swim. That's my weakest link, and the water just felt amazing, and it felt easy for me, which is huge. And I just kind of paced myself on the bike because the run is where I like to lay it down.
And CCC, so obviously that's another area that we are anxious to get to see what it's all about. But
you had a chance to go to Kona, and you said no because you're going to CCC. Was that?
Yeah.
Wow. Say no to Kona.
Yeah, I knew I was going to be pretty wrecked after CCC. I didn't need to add any more races that year.
So how was CCC then? How was it? Is that your first time racing in Europe?
Yes.
Wow. So now you have a whole new ball game going on with Europeans.
New people.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, and new scenery. It was absolutely stunning. It was an amazing experience.
Yeah. And do you want to do UTMB now?
Yes.
Wow. So then you went to Bandera to get your golden ticket again. Is that?
I did. So I didn't really have any intentions to go back to Western States. Even though I really suffered on the race, I didn't have the race I planned. I finished in 21 hours, which I think is a pretty respectable time for that course. Mm-hmm. Especially, we had a really hot day that day. It was 40 degrees. So just to warn you, if you're going to do the same race I'm doing, it's going to be hot. That's my race day lap. So I was, despite not having the race I planned, I was still proud of my finish and happy that I got to experience the course. So I was kind of done with Western States. I was moving on to different courses because there's so many to explore. But my husband just kept prodding me, like, I think I'd really like to see you do Western States again. I think you could do really well. I'd like you to go back and have a better day. And I'm like, okay. So finally he convinced me to do a golden ticket. And I was training for Tarawera at the time, and Bandera was the month before. And with my whole training plan of the big race, my training weekend, this worked out to be the Bandera weekend. So I thought, okay, I'll sign up for Bandera. I'll use it as a training race for Tarewara. If I get a golden ticket, I'll go. If I don't get a golden ticket, I don't care. And there was quite the competition going into that race. Kat Bradley was there, and Amanda Basham, who I knew were very strong runners. And I knew they were also going to. So I was like, okay, whatever, it'll be what it'll be. They both ended up dropping out of the race. And I ended up finishing first, getting the golden ticket. And it kind of came with mixed emotions, to be honest, because at one point around the 80K mark, which is where I always struggle in an ultra, whether it's 100K or 100 miles, that 80K mark is just a mental breaking point for me. And I was thinking to myself, I hope somebody passes me soon so I don't get this golden ticket.
No way.
But that was short-lived. I got over that little mental hump, and I'm like, okay, I feel good. We're going to Western States, and it's going to be awesome. So, yeah.
Would Western States next year be your A race? Focused on that one?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Represent Canada.
That's awesome.
And after that, but then you also did Tarewara and winning that one. How was that?
And our female champion in a time of 18 hours and 10 minutes for 100 miles from Canada, Ailsa Macdonald. What a race she had. For much of it, she was in third place outright, and I believe that's how it finished. It was an incredible run. beat almost the entire field home. Tell me about your experience yesterday. You managed to get it done in just the one day. I think that's pretty special. Tell us a little bit about that, how that run went for you.
Well, it went really well, obviously. Just went out with a really open mind yesterday because you never know what's going to happen in these long distance races with so many variables. So I just did the best I could. I felt like I paced myself properly and I was able to fuel really well. It was the coolest 100-miler I've ever done. I usually get extreme temperatures, so this was pretty comfortable. So I think that helped a lot.
Now, it wasn't all your own way. Did you lead that race from the start?
Pretty much from the second aid station or first aid station, I think, yeah.
And you're aware that Kat Bradley was chasing?
I ran with her for a couple of minutes in the first leg, yeah.
Bumblebees. All right, let's hear it one more time for our top 5 female finishers in the 100 miles. Congratulations to you.
After Western next year, what big races are you looking forward to once COVID's done and everything else?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I want to get back to UTMB for sure. That's on my bucket list. I'd like to do another Ironman, though my swim is really awful right now still. Well, not that I know, I haven't been swimming in like a year and a half now. Yeah, there's so many. I want to do more races in Europe for sure. Just such a beautiful place to run. Yeah, I have a pretty long bucket list.
Good.
And every time I race something, I keep adding more. So.
Controversial question, because we have talked to a few people who do Ironman and do 100-milers. What do you think is harder to actually on race day? Ironman or 100-mile?
The 100-miler.
And so far, that's been the answer.
What is harder to train for?
That's a good question, actually. I would say probably the Ironman is harder to train for because you have to focus on 3 different disciplines.
Yeah.
Right.
Whereas with the Ultra, it's just, well, I shouldn't say you just focus on running because I still do lots of cross training and training for Ultras.
Yeah.
But yeah, to squeeze in the swim, bike, and run, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Right. And would you say that the 100-miler is harder because of the mental aspect of just, putting your head down and moving one foot in front of the other and not having that variety?
Also longer time on feet than Ironman.
Yeah, it's a lot harder on the body. You're on your feet for the entire duration. It's a lot longer of a race. I mean, you're looking at about 18 hours compared to, for myself, I'm usually around 10, 11 hours for Ironman. So it's a lot longer duration of a race. So you have to think about that as well in the way of nutrition and fueling yourself at that period of time. And also, typically you're going through maybe mountain ranges, you're going through the night, you're running by headlamp, you're running alone, temperature changes. There's so many more variables in the 100-miler compared to the Ironman.
All right. Well, before we go, we do a little bit of a rapid fire. Just a couple questions just to get to know you a little better. All right.
Ready for some rapid fire? Whatever comes to your mind.
Star Wars or Star Trek or neither?
Oh, neither.
What?
It's amazing. We're still married. Ryan Reynolds.
My husband would get along.
What's that?
He and my husband would get along very well because he's a big Star Trek, Star Wars fan. So.
Ryan Reynolds or Ryan Gosling?
Ryan Gosling.
Do you have a tattoo?
Yes.
Ironman? Is it Ironman?
No.
Okay.
I have a trap stamp lower back tattoo.
Oh, okay.
No, you do not.
I was young. Then it was the thing when I was 15.
Yeah, I can see that.
So every runner.
Actually, I don't have to look at it every day because I can't really see it that well. So
now every runner who's running behind you knows. Oh, now I know who that is.
Oh, I can cover it up.
Okay.
Do you lose toenails when you run trail?
Yes.
Yes.
I've never lost a toenail.
80s or 90s music?
Ooh, 90s probably.
90s. Yeah. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Dark, 100% all the way.
Yeah. Okay, so this is more relevant to the time we're in right now. If you could get on a plane right now, where are you going?
France.
France.
Do you speak French?
No, I want to go to the Alps.
I also like to know about superpower. What superpower would you like to have?
Ooh. Gosh, that's a hard question. There's so many great ones.
Exactly.
Flying would be cool.
Flying, yeah.
Flying, yeah. That's a popular one.
It is a popular one.
But to be super strong and to be able to like pick up cars and throw them, that would be cool too.
Why not? You can do both.
Thank you so much, Ailsa. We really appreciate the time.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks. I look forward to seeing you guys at Western States next year.
There you go.
Wow. That's all I can say is wow.
So much success.
And really just figuring it out on our own.
Yeah. Self-coached.
That is so much discipline.
And with Ironman discipline, winning, and then ultra winning, all self-coached.
And less is more. I loved the fact that her highest mileage week is 80K.
Yeah.
Usually.
You don't
There's so much to be said for that.
Well, it works for her.
It works for her. Doesn't work for everybody, but
yeah.
Love it. Awesome.
And she took on Western States in 2018. Didn't go so well. She's got to go back and do it again next year.
That's right. And we get to see it.
Yes. It's toe the line at Western States 2022.
Yes. That was great.
Cheers.
Bye.